Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today's video, I am going to be showing you 5 things to improve your DPS. So if you are someone who is looking to get better damage per second and improve your skills at PVM and bossing, then this is probably the video for you. Now, I will be putting timestamps in the description down below so you guys can jump in between each section as you wish. But anyway, I really hope you do enjoy, and let's jump into it. So starting off with our tip number 1, we have Relics. So Relics, they can really improve your DPS, and there are a ton of different relics that you can use, but the basics, they can be obtained through archaeology, and you'll also need to harness the relic powers, which do cost monolith energy. Now, you will have a certain amount of monolith energy depending on your archaeology level. So for example, at level 5 archaeology, you'll have 150 monolith energy, whereas at level 90 archaeology, you'll have 500. If you manage to get 120 archaeology and complete the Orphan Dig site and Mysterious City Mystery, then you will have 650 monolith energy, which is the maximum amount. So now that you know the basics of the relics, there is actually 7 different combat related relics that will help you in PVM. So the first one is the Font of Life. This is a basic one, only requires level 5 archaeology, or at least the tutorial. That is how you will unlock it. And it will increase your maximum health by 500, so it is somewhat helpful if you have it. It's basically just better than nothing. Now, the second one is Berserker's Fury. This is a really great relic, actually. It can be unlocked at level 56 archaeology. However, it does require an Amulet of the Forsaken, which costs right around 40 mil right now. But this relic will deal up to 5.5% extra damage in all combat styles, the lower your current life points are below the max. So basically, the lower your life points are, the more damage you will deal. So for example, if you're right around 50% life points, you will have a damage buff of around 3%, whereas if you have around 10% of your life points, so around 1,000 life points left, you'll have a 5% damage buff, and that does scale depending on your life points. Now, next we have the Death Ward. This actually goes really well with Berserker's Fury. It will give you a 5% damage reduction when your life points are below 50%, and then 10% damage reduction when they are below 25%. So as you can see, the lower your life points are, the less damage you'll take, and if you do combine that with Berserker's Fury, you will have a damage buff as well. Fury of the Small is another amazing relic. It will actually allow all basic abilities to generate 1% more adrenaline. This is extremely helpful, especially when it is combined with the Impatient perk. That way, on average, if you do have Impatient 4 and the Fury of the Small, you'll be getting over 10% adrenaline on a basic ability on average. So that means you'll only need 10 basic abilities to reach 100% adrenaline, rather than the original 13 abilities that you would need if you're only gaining the 8%. Now next we have the Persistent Rage relic. This is more of a quality of life relic than a extremely useful one. What it does, it will allow your adrenaline to not drain outside of combat, so that way you won't have to do things like adrenaline stall. It is a pretty good relic for certain situations, but it isn't one of the best. Next we have Heightened Senses. This will increase the maximum adrenaline by 10%, so basically you can reach 110% adrenaline. It does cost 350 monolith energy, however, so it isn't one that is highly recommended. Conservation of energy is the same. It costs 350 monolith energy, and after using an ultimate ability, you will regain 10% adrenaline, and it also does stack with the Ring of Vigor. So basically, those are all of the combat related relics. If you have around 500 monolith energy, the best options for you would probably be Fury of the Small, Berserker's Fury, and Font of Life. Whereas if you have 650 monolith energy, it would be Fury of the Small, Berserker's Fury, and Death Ward. And next we have auras. So auras can be bought with loyalty points, and you can also buy some of them via War's Wares, using Marks of War. So there are a ton of different relics which are super useful to PVM and combat that I do want to go over. So first off, we have the Maharat Aura. This one will increase the damage you deal and your divine location cap by 5%, so mostly we're just looking at that 5% damage increase. You can obtain this for 5 bonds. That is the only way to obtain it, other than using Reaper points, which just isn't worth it. So 5 bonds is how you'll get the Maharat aura. It is a really great aura for certain situations for that damage increase. Next we have the Supreme Brawler aura. This increases your melee accuracy by 10%. And likewise, we have these same auras for magic and ranged in the Supreme Runic Accuracy aura and the Supreme Sharpshooter aura. Now, each of these relics will increase their respective combat style by 10% accuracy, and it will cost around 57,000 membership loyalty points. That will take approximately 6 or 7 months to obtain if you are starting as a new member. Next, we have the Dark Magic aura. This can be obtained by purchasing it from War at the PVM hub. It does cost 12,500 marks of War. It is a pretty good aura as well. Basically, when you activate it, any damaging attack, including bleeds, for all 3 combat styles will have an estimated 13% chance of inflicting a corruption effect that will deal damage 4 times per activation. So basically, depending on the PVM situation, it will be increasing your damage output by about 5% up to 8.5%. Now, next we have the Aegis aura. This will create a protective shield reducing damage taken based off your defense level. So basically, it's just an aura that will help you reduce the damage taken. We also have the Berserker aura, Maniacal aura, and the Reckless aura. Now, these are 3 amazing auras. They are basically the same thing, but for their own combat style. So the Berserker aura, for example, will boost your attack and strength by 10%, but it will reduce your defense by 15%. So this is really great when you're looking to increase your damage output. You will be taking more damage because your defense is lower, but if you are using something like Soul Split while you're using one of these 3 auras, of course, you'll be restoring a lot more life points that way, which will in turn counteract the lower defense. So if you think of it that way, these are really great auras to use. They do cost 25,000 marks of War each at War's shop in the PVM hub. We also have the Vampirism aura, which can be purchased for 5,000 marks of War from War. And this is another really great aura, especially for mid-level players or low-level players. What it does, it will allow you to gain life points equal to 5% of any damage you deal. So it's sort of like a budget-type Vampirism Scrimshaw or a budget Soul Split, if you will. Now, we also have the Penance aura, which is very similar to the Vampirism aura, except you'll be gaining prayer points equal to 5% of the damage dealt. And this can be purchased for 23,000 membership loyalty points. And next we have Invention Perks. So Invention Perks, they can also really increase your DPS by actually an immense amount if you do have multiple perks active at once. They are obtained via Invention, of course, and you will be able to unlock better perks with Ancient Invention, which is unlocked at level 85. So in order to unlock Ancient Invention, you will need that level 85 Invention, but you'll also need an Ancient Gizmos Blueprint, which can be purchased off the Grand Exchange for right around 5 mil. And that way you will be able to make the Ancient Gizmos, which will allow you to increase your rank on all of the Invention perks. So as you guys can see, here's an overview of some really great PVM perks that you can obtain. Some of them are more expensive than others, but I will be going over some of the more basic ones or most important ones that will help you in some PVM scenarios. But all of the ones on screen are some of the best that you can obtain. So first off, we have the Precise perk. This is actually a budget perk. You can get it pretty cheap as well. So it will increase your minimum damage by 1.5% per rank of your maximum damage. So this perk does have a maximum rank of 6 if you are using Ancient Invention. If not, your maximum rank will be level 5. And on screen you can also see 2 different combinations to obtain this. The cheaper one would be the Precise 6 and Genocidal, where you're just using 9 historic components. So this is actually a really great perk to have. If you do have Precise 6, it will increase your damage per second on average by 7.5%. And although that doesn't seem like a huge increase, it will be pretty big once you do combine it with various other invention perks. So that is why they are so great. And next we have the Equilibrium perk. This is another great invention perk to have. It will increase your minimum hit by 3% per rank and decrease the maximum hit by 1% per rank. So basically this perk will make it so your average hit is a little bit higher. So if you do have Equilibrium 4, you will increase your average hit by about 5.3%. So that is going to be pretty substantial, especially when you do combine that with the 7.5% with Precise. Next, we have the Biting perk. So this perk will give you a 2% chance per rank to critically hit your opponents, and it has a maximum rank of 4 with Ancient Invention. So this perk is really expensive to obtain, which is why you might want to even obtain this with one of the wishes that you have obtained, where you can use any invention component you want, since this one does require a lot of the noxious components. So as you can see, Biting 4 will increase your average hit by about 5%. And then if you do have the item at level 20, it will make it so it activates a little bit more frequently, which will increase your damage by about 5.5%. So another great perk to have. I also want to mention that you can get Biting 2 pretty cheap actually, by using 9 of the direct components. So if you do this, it is extremely cheap, but you will require 68 invention to do it. That is where you will get the highest percent chance to get Biting 2. And with this, you can just go to the God Wars dungeon entrance and just lower your invention that way, and then obtain Biting 2. And so next we have Crackling. So Crackling periodically zaps your combat target for 50% per rank of your weapon's damage, and the maximum rank is 4 with Ancient Invention, so it does have a 1-minute cooldown, so basically every minute you will be dealing a maximum of 200% bonus damage, so this perk will also increase your DPS. And so next we have Impatient. So this perk won't directly increase your DPS, but it will help you gain more adrenaline, which then you can use on better threshold abilities or more threshold abilities to deal more damage that way. So Impatient has a 9% chance per rank for basic abilities to generate 3% extra adrenaline. The maximum rank is 4, meaning you'll have a 36% chance to gain an extra 3% adrenaline with that basic ability. And as I mentioned earlier, if you are using Impatient 4 with Fury of the Small, it's an awesome combination because on average you will be gaining over 10% adrenaline every time you use a basic ability, meaning you'll only need 10 of them on average to reach that 100% adrenaline and then use your ultimate abilities. And so next we have Enhanced Devoted. This is a perk that you would typically put on your armor. So it gives you a 4.5% chance per rank on being hit that protection prayers will work at 100% for 3 seconds. So its maximum rank is 4, meaning that you will have about an 18% chance to negate any attack that is incoming if you are using that protection prayer. So it is really great. It will reduce your incoming damage by a significant amount if you are using those protection prayers. And another perk that I wanted to mention, it's more of a situational perk, is the Planted Feet perk. So this will increase the duration of Sunshine and Death Swiftness by 25%, meaning that normally it's 30 seconds, it will increase to 37 seconds. But then they'll no longer deal that periodic damage to your target, which was pretty minimal anyway. And you can only reach level 1 with this. There's a few different combinations to obtain it. Both of them are quite expensive, but this is a great perk to have on an item that you'll switch to right before you use either Sunshine or Death Swiftness to get that increased duration, so then you can use more thresholds and just have that damage boost for a bit longer. And so following the invention perks, I have ability rotations. So ability rotations, they're another extremely helpful thing to increase your damage per second, just to understand what abilities to use when you are managing your adrenaline properly. So managing adrenaline, it is extremely useful and essential when you are trying to maximize your DPS in RuneScape 3. Now, I do have some example ability rotations that are generally the best for ranged, melee, two-handed and dual-wield, as well as magic. So for example, for ranged, you can switch to the Ring of Vigor, which, as I mentioned, it will give you 10% adrenaline back when you use an ultimate ability. So the key with these ability rotations is you'll want to reach 100% adrenaline, switch to that Ring of Vigor, and then use that ultimate ability in Death Swiftness, Sunshine, or Berserk, depending on the combat style. So for range, you'll want to use Death Swiftness. Now this will use all your adrenaline. Then you'll want to build up some more and then use your threshold abilities, since they will have that 50% damage increase while Death Swiftness is active. So following that, you'll want to use Shadow Tendrils, which is an extremely powerful threshold ability. Then you want to use Snapshot and Rapid Fire. So those are two other really high damaging ranged abilities as well. Now, it's sort of the same for the other two combat styles as well. For melee, two-handed, you'll want to use Berserk and then Assault, Hurricane, and Quake. So basically, you're using that ultimate ability, which will give you that damage increase, and then use some powerful threshold abilities. That is the best way to optimize your ability rotations for damage. So for the dual wield, for example, you'll use Berserk, Assault, then Destroy, and then Flurry. And then the same with magic. You'll want to use Sunshine for that 50% damage increase, then Wild Magic, Asphyxiate, and Deep Impact. And moving on to my fifth and final tip, I have Weapon Poison. So Weapon Poison will increase your damage per minute or damage per second quite substantially, and they can just be purchased on the Grand Exchange for about 30k per vial. This is a 4-dose vial for the Weapon Poison plus. Now, these specifically will last 12 minutes, and they'll give you a 12.5% chance per hit to poison the target, which will deal 12 to 42% of the ability damage every time this happens. So also along with this, on top of it, your poison will also hit every 10 seconds for 3 minutes. Now the base damage is 200, but if you are using Cinderbane gloves, the base poison damage increases to 250. So basically, you'll always have that 12.5% chance to deal an additional 12 to 42% damage. And then also, every 10 seconds, you will be dealing 200 to 250 damage, depending on if you have the Cinderbane gloves or not. So essentially, this is going to increase your damage per second by quite a bit. If you're ever attacking a target that can be poisoned, you will want to bring Weapon Poison and use it, since it will just increase that damage per second, and it is also pretty cheap to buy. And so anyway, guys, that is all I have for you in today's video. I really hope you did find this video helpful, and hopefully at least one of these 5 things will help you improve your damage per second. If you do use all 5 of these, you will have some pretty good damage per second, and I'm sure you will be able to do a bit of bossing, especially if you have some high combat stats and some decent gear. You should have no problem getting into some high level PVM. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you did enjoy, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.